Welcome back to Ty and That Guy. I'm Wes Chatham. This is my good buddy Ty Franck. Ty, is it you or your substance doppelganger that came to work today?
Yeah, no, because even when I take the substance, my doppelganger is fucked up and old. Like, that's how I'm so old that even when I make a doppelganger, it's
Could you
fucked up and
imagine
old.
like being on the bathroom floor, like, and go through that, and the guy comes out and you're like, motherfucker, like, why did I go home through that shit for you?
Yeah, exactly.
What are we talking about today, Ty?
We're talking about laying on bathroom floors and creating doppelgangers. So obviously, it has to be Gene Hackman. No, I mean the substance.
The substance. When did you watch it?
I think it was like a week after it came out.
Yeah.
I came out on streaming. I didn't go to the theater to see it.
I think you and I are on a roll. With that movie's been out for about a month now, so everything interesting that could have been said has already been said about it.
Well, yeah, we're so late.
We like to come right in the least interesting time to say things. Like, people already like have read everything about the substance. The Oscars are over. Demi didn't win. There's nothing new to talk about or bring to the conversation. Yeah, all we're gonna do is retread all the ideas that have already been out there and said everything about it. Well, hopefully we're different. I mean, I try not to read much about before we talk about a movie, but we're not really insightful people in the first place. So it's like, please
remember to not like and not subscribe.
Yeah. Please do not like and not subscribe, because this podcast will bring zero value to your life and zero nutrition to your heart.
Yes.
What did you think about it?
I mean, David Cronenberg is one of my favorite directors. And so I've watched a lot of body horror because I love Cronenberg body horror. And it was very different in tone. The style and tone were nothing like a David Cronenberg movie, but that commitment to the most horrifying version of the idea was Cronenbergian to me. Because the director absolutely leans into the worst version of this idea.
Set up the movie so the people that have seen the movie and also heard podcasts about it 100 times, that know the plot, so we can just annoy them even more. Yeah.
So an aging actress who feels like she's missing out on the parts she wants because she's too old, goes and gets a magical elixir called the Substance, which is advertised that it will create a younger, better her. Which is not a lie. It does do that, but it's not in the way that she expects, with horrifying consequences.
By the way, there's going to be tons of spoilers in this. If you're the one person that hasn't seen it yet, we're going to basically go through the major points in the movie. By the way, I feel a little nervous about you and I talking about it because we're kind of the least. They want to hear from us the least. We're the Dennis Quaid's.
Yes.
In this podcast, and now we're going to judge a movie that's about men judging women, you know?
Yes. And trust me, the whole time I was watching the movie, I was very aware of what the subtext of the movie is. That is, that women are judged unfairly on physical appearance, that no matter what else a woman has to offer the world, she knows that part of how every man sees her is whether or not she's attractive, right? And reacts to her differently based on attractiveness level. I was fully aware of that. And it did not stop me from thinking Demi Moore and what's her name, Qualley, are beautiful, beautiful women.
Yeah, exactly.
And part of what was happening was when Demi Moore was like, oh, I'm too old and too ugly to be actress anymore. I need this substance. I was like looking at her going, no, Demi, you're doing fine. That's fine. That's
the first thing I thought. I was like, when it starts off, she's doing her, Jane Fonda type workout show. By the way, this visually, this is a very powerful visual and symbolic movie maker. This director. This is the first movie I've seen from her, and I guess her other movie, Revenge, I'd like to see. I saw the trailer for it. I really liked it, but I like the Jane Fonda style workout, kind of just representing the entertainment industry, because basically becoming famous, developing your identity, who you are, your sense of self, your sense of value through this one entertainment mechanism that is really about your beauty, your appearance, and your sexuality. Yeah. And so it's kind of like just bullying all of the, all the 90210s, all the movies, all the shows. It's kind of bullying it down to like, this is what this is. This is what her particular career hinged on. Yep. And this is what, and then, so I thought that was done really well. I like the symbol of the show going into. But what I was going to say is I see her doing the show and I see Demi and I'm thinking about how great Demi looks. And I love Demi. I've loved her my whole life. St. Elmo's Fire was the first time I saw her. And interesting enough, she was in St. Elmo's Fire, she was living the same struggle because she was this beautiful young girl who was having real struggles with drugs and issues on and off the screen within the movie, character and herself. But, there was that moment where she was like really trying to talk to Rob Lowe and like really, needing a friend. And he was trying to bang her, Yeah. You remember when he put her keys down and she's like, I need to fucking talk to you. And it's like, so it's the struggle is real, But I see her.
I mean, we're old enough now to have a little bit of chill when it comes to that. But you remember what it's like being 20 years old. Every 20-year-old guy has one thing on his mind all the time.
Right. Yeah.
And it sucks to be a 20-year-old woman because every guy you're looking at has one thing on his mind.
Yeah.
And you know it. You're aware of it.
Yeah. So, fucking nature. Nature is cruel, man. Nature is cruel because you're watching this movie and you're like, man, this is disgusting. And this is, I feel, you could tell they're doing the male gaze, you're seeing the male gaze through that perspective. And you're like, I don't think this male gaze applies to me. But you find yourself not being annoyed that they're nude,
Right.
It's not that you don't like it. And then you're like, fuck, man, is that me? Is that, but when I see Demi and I see her, my whole thing is like, man, she looks great. And then I'm like, wait a minute, is she supposed to be the before? This is the before? She's amazing.
Well, but I think that's part of the message of the film.
Yeah.
Is that even a woman who looks as good as what current Demi does, even at the age she's at, all that, she still looks amazing. Even a woman who looks like that at that age feels judged, feels looked down upon, feels less than because she's not as beautiful as she was 10 years, 20 years, 30 years before.
Do you remember that Vanity Fair cover? Which was a sensation around the world when she posed nude when she was pregnant?
I do vaguely remember it.
It was a cultural phenomenon. Yeah. It was the first time put themselves out there like that, but being pregnant. And it was what's interesting is now that I brought St. Elmo's Fire, if I start thinking about a lot of her movies from her past, think about Indecent Proposal. He's offering $1 million for her body, and then G.I. Jane, how they sexualized her when she was trying to be taken serious and no matter how good a soldier she was, or striptease,
or striptease, but that's the thing with G.I. Jane is no matter how good a soldier she was, everybody was still going to catcall her and make comments about her body and all of those things that if you're a woman, just being taken seriously as whatever profession you want to be in, you got to fight your way through all the sexual harassment to get there, right?
She's perfect casting for this in two ways. One is because I think she's lived the struggle that the actual character is living, and she's been through that.
Yeah.
And two, no matter what character Demi plays, she's instantly likable, and you care about her. No matter how vain or how shallow this character is supposed to be, you automatically care about her. And if you care about her, you start caring about the shit that happens to her.
Right. So anyway, that's the basic premise is you've got a woman who is trying to recapture what she thinks of as her lost youth and takes this drug. And the way the drug works is if somebody said to you, I can give you a drug and you'll get your old you back. You'll recapture your lost youth. What you would be thinking is, I take this drug, it makes me look younger. It removes lines on my face. It tightens up my muscles, all of that, right? That is not at all what this drug does. This drug is fucked up. What this drug does is grow a younger version of you, like a cancer in your body that bursts out of your body and then goes on and lives your life for you. But you're still there. The old version of you is still there, but now you're just fucked up with a big hole in your back.
Well, it's not your life. It's like you gave birth to another being, even though they make it a point. This is you, everything. But
they do imply that they share memories.
They don't.
Yeah.
Because every time they wake up, they don't know what the other one was doing. And they find out when they go and she sees the food and she's like, what, the fucking pig? And
right. Yeah.
So they make it a point that, and that was one of one of the hardest things for me to understand is like, the reality is Demi's getting nothing out of this. She has to sleep on the floor for a week and then come to, but she's not getting any love. She's not getting in the glory. And also it's costing her. It's costing her because the more that girl takes, the more that the doppelganger takes, the more it extracts life force out of Demi. And there is a point there where, and also, and you know, the what they're examining is that how much, so the violence that we do to ourselves, or that these women do to themselves in this situation, that once all their value and all their sense of self is wrapped up in their beauty, and that's their love and their acceptance and their careers come from, and the keys to their dream come from their beauty. Once that starts to fade, their resentment and their anger turns on themselves, and they start to hate themselves, and it's violent. They're violent to themselves, and so the anger and resentment that they start having towards each other, even though they're the same person, is interesting. But I still the one thing I struggled with is when she had a chance to terminate it, why would she not terminate it? Why would she? Because she's getting nothing out of that. She's not getting the love and the acceptance from that. All this other person is doing is taking from her.
I think by that point she had it. I mean, because she had aged quite a bit by the thing. Mm-hmm. And so what you've done is instead of making yourself young, you've aged yourself a bunch and gotten nothing else out of it. Yeah. I think that's the struggle. That's why she's so hesitant. Because it's the whole, I invested all of this life force into this thing and I got nothing.
Right.
It's very hard to just sort of give up and be like, well, I guess I'm even older now.
Yeah, because I wonder what it would have been like if you have this doppelganger and then you live your life through that doppelganger. So you go to sleep and now you're into the new avatar, and then you live your life. So then you get to feel like being on the stage, feel the adoration, feel the, making love with the young men and doing all of those things. And then you go back in the other body, but you don't want to go back to the other body. So you keep sucking life because you want to stay where that is. I thought that's where it was going, but then they made it very clear that even though they make it that it's two separate experiences, and they start to resent each other and hate each other.
The idea, though, is that they are the same consciousness, but you're right. They don't share the same experiences, even though they're the same person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the tone of this film, I mean, this is, it's a fairy, to me, it was like a dark fairy tale. It's like it's in a parallel world. And I thought it, like, the production design is excellent in this movie.
Yeah.
And this was a very smart, well-made movie. Demi and Margaret Qualley. Is that how you say her name?
Yeah, Margaret Qualley. You know her. She's the Manson girl from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah. Which is the first time I had ever really noticed her, was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where she plays the girl who brings...
That's the first time I remembered her, I think. But they're phenomenal in this. There's a lot of things about this movie that are phenomenal, but body horror is not my favorite. It's not my jam.
So the reason I like body horror is because very few things horrify me.
Mm-hmm.
And body horror is one of the very few things that does horrify me. Mm-hmm. So if I want the sensation of being horrified, which when you watch a horror movie, sometimes that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Body horror is one of the few things that'll work.
Yeah.
So that's why I like it.
Yeah. It's interesting because I really like Cronenberg, but I don't like all of his movies. But I mean, some of his
it's hard to find a more horrifying body horror movie than The Fly.
Yes. And I would say The Fly is up there with my favorite Cronenberg.
Yeah.
That and Scanners. But I had The Fly on VHS, and I used to watch that movie. It's horrifying, but it was also kind of sexy. It's a sexy movie.
Because you just really like Jeff. You just really like Jeff Goldblum in his leather jacket with no shirt,
and it's all just, and he's oiled up, and it's all unbuttoned, and
got those leather pants on, the leather jacket,
bar,
no shirt,
and everything.
Oh yeah,
had nothing to do with Gina Davis.
Yeah.
But what did you think of the Carrie moment at the end of this movie?
The Carrie moment.
Oh, I mean, I call it the Carrie moment, but the moment where she's on stage, She finally made it. She's on stage. It's the New Year's Eve show.
Yeah.
You know, it's the pig blood, you know, like the coming down and the thing. Because I was like, oh, is this going to be a Carrie's moment, like a Brian De Palma, where she just kills everybody in the audience and all these people watching? It's like, no.
Well, I mean, she didn't get superpowers. She got fucked up.
I know, but I thought she was going to be like this, like the toxic event, like this big, strong monster, and just fucking start ripping people apart, you know, just like start slaughtering them. And you know, this movie's full of body horror, but the most disgusting moment for me that I couldn't watch is Dennis Quaid eating the shrimp. That just was so nasty, so gross. I would take the other shit any day of the week, but that was so nasty. His fingers and the way he was doing it. Oh man, it was all a bunch of perverted white men that were just running this whole show and the whole world, basically.
Well, and there is a theme in reality and in this movie that men consume, that we run things to consume them. Mm-hmm. And that a young woman's beauty is a commodity to be consumed by men.
Right.
And that's there's no question that's part of the undercurrent of what's happening here.
I think in LA, I think it's beauty that gets consumed by men. And, you know, I think that, you know, I think male performers have been victims to this as well.
Oh, for sure. No, and I'm not saying it's only women who are victims. Absolutely. I mean, there's recent news, you know, big name stars who were being quite abusive to their young male co-stars. That's absolutely happened. So I'm not saying that it's only women.
Yeah,
but it is predominantly women who are the victims of this, predominantly, and it is predominantly men who are the perpetrators of it. Yeah. That is reality.
Yes, the men predominantly the perpetrators, but you know, the thing that I think is really sad is the way that Elizabeth Sparkle, the way her character is isolated, right? So it's so lonely. And the way that it's set up, like there's no friends, there's no interaction with anybody. Because you look at this and you look at her and you're like, listen, you know, LA has like fucked you up. This way of living has fucked you up. But the reality is like, you look amazing. You're still young. You've probably got plenty of money. You know, you're not fighting in the Ukraine right now. The stakes, it's a delusion, right? The stakes are so low, and you know, so sometimes I have a hard time emotionally getting wrapped up in this thing where I'm like, she's got a nice fucking apartment, and you know, and she looks beautiful. And,
but you know, but there's a famous line that all apocalypses are personal.
Yeah,
and that's right. That no matter what is going on in your life or anyone else's life, when the things you actually care about, when the things that you feel define you as a person are taken from you, that will feel apocalyptic. Even if to another person, they're like, who the fucking cares? Like, that's not a big deal. You know, I mean, if you have put every bit of your person into this idea that what you are is a media personality, you're a movie star, you're a TV star, whatever. And every bit of struggle you've done your whole life is to make that dream a reality and define yourself by your success in that world, even though to the rest of the world, they have no concept of what that is or why they should give a shit about it. To you, it will feel apocalyptic when it's taken away from you. And I think that is very true. And I don't think the movie wants us to feel bad for her because she's an aging actor. I think the movie wants us to understand why a person in her situation would take such drastic measures to try to recapture what she's lost. I think the movie wants us to understand that. But I don't think it wants us to feel bad for her because she's not famous
and also
anymore.
Understand the environment that created her.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, and the most important thing about this movie is how all of this is created by the environment.
Yeah.
How the consumption of beauty and the disregarding of age and the dominance of the male gaze, all of those things create a situation in which people have this sort of struggle. Yeah.
You know, and you see it when someone comes to Los Angeles, when a young lady comes to Los Angeles and they grab onto the beauty, and they say, basically we take this beauty, and that is a key that unlocks your dream.
Yeah.
And then we'll keep using that beauty in our stories and the things that we want to do. We use it, but we extract that from you, and when it's over, we're done with you.
Yes.
And
so this movie made me think of two other movies. And this, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to bring this up now because you're making the exact point that I wanted to make. So once again, you're reading my mind. So have you ever seen Neon Demon?
No.
Okay. So Neon Demon is a very different film, has a very different thing, but it's also kind of a horror movie. And it is literally about the Hollywood set consuming the beauty of a new beautiful person who shows up. Like literally consuming in sort of a horror movie way. So it kind of has that theme. The other one that I was thinking of, and this is a very different movie. It's not a horror movie. Did you ever see Yesterday? The movie about the guy who wakes up and the Beatles don't exist, so he starts recording Beatles songs.
Right. Yeah.
There's a moment where, I forget the comedian's name. The one who plays his manager at the talent agency.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
The blonde lady. Anyway, there's a scene where
if we had a producer, he'd come in right now and and that's go ahead.
If he was good. There's a moment in the movie where she sits down with him and she says, "I'm going to offer you the poison chalice of fame and wealth, and we're gonna use you up. We're gonna have you record all of this stuff. We're gonna take most of your money. Do you want to drink it?" And he says yes. He says yes. I want to drink the poison cup.
Right.
And it's played for, it's a comedy. Yesterday is basically a comedy, but it felt like a very real moment.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing in the substance is somebody who has drunk from the poison chalice, and they've been used up, and now the chalice is gone, and they're it's like a drug. They're desperate to get it back.
Yeah. There's a lot of parallels to addiction as well in this, and the cruel joke is like, you're on the way out. We've used you up. We're throwing you away.
Yeah.
But we're going to give you one last bit of hope. So then you can just be just really wallow in agony and just really become a face in a placenta that just crawls around Los Angeles.
Let's make sure you really understand how little you matter now.
And it's interesting because I think that there's actresses like Meryl Streep or Cate Blanchett or that have saw through this early on. So they realized that they have so much more to offer. So they leaned into getting established in different roles and different things to then establish a career. Like Meryl Streep, like I'll go see anything she does, because she's an amazing actress and everything she does is amazing. And so I'll go see everything that she does. And I think that, like Josh Hartnett always talks about how when he got to Hollywood, he was a young, handsome dude, that they quickly seized upon him and wanted his look and his presence to serve the stories that he wanted to tell. They didn't really care about developing him as an actor or him getting the character, their things or whatever. And what he realized is like, oh, they're sucking me dry. Yep. And once this is done, they're just going to throw me away, and I have nothing else. Because
there's always another Josh Hartnett waiting in the wings.
Exactly. And so what he ended up doing was like ripping himself away from that, going into, paying the price, going into exile, but then really developing his craft, taking really interesting roles, taking big chances, doing indie films. And now, he's working with Christopher Nolan. He's doing some really interesting work. And, I think one person that did this well, and the reason I've been using male actors is because I feel self-conscious, like, talking about, because they're going to say like, hey, Dennis Quaid, you have no right to fucking comment on this
go
career.
Eat some fucking shrimp, you loser.
Yeah, go eat some shrimp. Don't fucking talk about the women. But, you look at Brad Pitt and, he was known for being just absolutely beautiful, and I think he realized like, I need to start doing some interesting shit. I need to start getting away from this because once they use that up, then I will have nothing else to offer.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And it's funny that you bring up some of these actors, but like, did you ever see Mare of Easttown, the Kate Winslet show? Like,
yes. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm a big Kate Winslet fan. I think she's fantastic, and the only reason I watched Mayor of Easttown is because she was in it. Like I wasn't interested in that story, but I find her mesmerizing to watch as an actor. There's just something really interesting about her, and she's older now, right? She's our age. She's in her 50s. There's a scene in that show where she impulsively has sex with a guy that she's sort of been flirting with for a few episodes. And they were talking about how to do this. And she's a producer on that show. She's a boss on that show. That's her show. They're talking to her about how to do it. And she realized that what they were talking about is, here's how we would shoot it to hide the fact that you're an older woman and your thighs are not 20-year-old thighs. They're 50-year-old thighs. And you probably don't want to see that on camera. And she was like, no, fuck that. I'm going to do the scene naked from the waist down. Everybody's going to see my ass and my thighs as I'm doing this sex scene. And fuck you guys for trying to hide it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's part of why I like her so much, because she didn't give a fuck. Right.
Yeah. And you know what?
She's like, you're here for me. I'm the thing that's selling this show.
Right.
Here's what I am. Fuck you if you don't like it.
But you know what's great is she did a lot of good for a lot of people that are coming up behind her. A lot of actresses that are coming. Those type of things. And the reality is like, I lived in LA, for over 20 years. And when I moved out of LA and you start to get to know other people, and it's like you see normal people again. And you're like, oh yeah, I forgot what gray hair looked like.
Right.
Or like I forgot what. And you see normal moms, and then you look and then you realize like there's different levels of beauty, and there's different ways to be beautiful. And if you see a woman who's had kids, but she's like so comfortable in her in her own skin and strong, and is not as like living in LA, like there's not as self-focused as what I was around for a long time. There's just something so there's something so relaxing about it. There's something so attractive about it. There's something so, and
well, I mean, I think confidence is very attractive, no matter what your gender is.
Yeah, and I guess the point I'm saying is like, there's a level of confidence. So even if you're the most beautiful woman in the world, if you're riddled with insecurities, it affects your beauty.
Yeah. And I think that's part of what this movie does is Demi's, the character, not her, the actor, but the character she's playing in this, her insecurity and desperation makes her very unattractive in the movie. In spite of the fact that Demi Moore is a beautiful woman, her desperation and hunger are very unattractive qualities.
Yeah.
So in the way that Demi Moore is used in this movie, because of the associations we have with her before the movie, like the movie uses those things to put you in the place it wants you to be in. Smart casting. They do the same thing with Dennis Quaid. We want to like Dennis Quaid. Like there's like the minute he shows, we want to like him, but he's so loathsome.
Mm-hmm. In the movie? Oh my God. Yeah,
it's
you talk about going
against you.
And every time you see him, you think you're going to like him because he gets your mouth all ready for some lemonade.
He gets your mouth all ready for Dennis Quaid.
He gets your mouth all ready for some Dennis Quaid. And then you're like, no, I don't like you. Yeah.
Stop being like that.
Yeah. But this director's very talented. And I look forward to seeing, maybe she's the new.
Yeah, I really enjoyed her first movie, Revenge.
Oh, I was talking about that. Did you see? Yeah. I was curious about seeing. I wanted to.
I actually saw one of the
about
first.
Bad Men?
It is about bad men. Yes, it is. Yeah, I saw one of the first screenings of it at a film festival.
Right.
And it was.
There's no subtlety in this movie. This hits you over the head with a sledgehammer.
There's no subtlety in Revenge either.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's well made. It's well shot. I think the performances are quite good. It is not a subtle movie. It is a movie in which three dudes bring a young woman out to their hunting lodge in the middle of nowhere, sexually assault her. There's a lot of assault, and then they try to kill her, and she survives. She very accidentally survives this attempted murder, and goes about trying to kill the three of them. And you're just following her as she's all fucked up. She's barely got any clothes on because they threw her out in the desert with no clothes on, and she's collecting the means to get revenge on these three guys. And by about halfway into this movie, you are on board. You are like, fuck those dudes. When she gets the gun, you're like, fuck yeah, you got a gun. Take those motherfuckers out. Like, you were so into it. So it's really well made. It's a simple story. You know everything that's going to happen. It's very straightforward, but it's really well made.
By I Spit on Your Grave?
It's very different. It's the same genre as I Spit on Your Grave. Definitely the same genre. Very different in how it plays out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I look forward to seeing that. Joseph, you want to do top 5?
Yes, we're top 5 today is top comeback roles in honor of Demi Moore in her role in The Substance.
You know, I got a soft spot for Burt Reynolds on some.
I love Burt Reynolds in Boogie Nights. I think Boogie Nights is one of my top 10 favorite movies, and I think Burt Reynolds is fantastic. And I loved to see him playing that part in that movie.
Right.
And what's funny about it is he didn't want to do it. He thought it was off brand for him. He was so not interested in doing that movie, but they talked him into it, and it was absolutely a comeback for him.
It resurrected him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Newsflash: Clint Eastwood never went anywhere.
He got old, but he never went anywhere.
Yeah, he got old, but he's been at Apex Mountain for about 40 years.
I will say John Travolta, Pulp Fiction, that one is valid.
That's a good one.
He had sort of disappeared, and then after Pulp Fiction, he was super hot again. On that topic, the other one that should be on this list is okay, you do have Robert Forster and Jackie Brown. Yeah, Quentin Tarantino absolutely resurrected Robert Forster with Jackie Brown. Oh, I could see an argument for Winona Ryder and Black Swan.
Well, I think Ke Huy Quan, that's a massive comeback because he went from being a child star to just not working.
Yeah,
not working in the industry.
And that was a fantastic movie.
And is a great role, and now he's starring in movies.
Yeah, you're right. That is absolutely one of the top. Yeah, for sure.
Ooh, Michael Keaton and Birdman.
But did Michael Keaton actually go away? Michael Keaton
did
he?
He went. Yes, he went away because I'm a Michael Keaton fan, and when he was at his height with Batman, and he says himself like he kind of put himself in exile, and then when he wanted to come back, it wasn't really available for him to come back. And so I don't know if you remember, but it was like 10 years. I remember thinking, where's Michael Keaton?
I did not know that. I didn't realize it. At the same level as Michael Keaton and Birdman, so I would do it like a tie with that one, is Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler. Because Mickey Rourke vanished. He vanished. He got super weird. He was doing that thing where he was like doing all the bodybuilding, and then he decided he was a professional boxer. Like, it was all that weird shit. But the great thing about The Wrestler is all of that weird shit Mickey Rourke was doing made his character in The Wrestler better. Like, all that weirdness of his life before The Wrestler made him a better actor to play the character in The Wrestler.
I think we're on brand. I think we're Dennis Quaiding right now because we pick mostly men for the comebacks.
That's true. That's true. But I don't think Demi Moore needed a comeback. I think she's always been important. I think Jamie Lee Curtis has always been important.
Yeah, and I think too, they've always been important in my heart.
Yeah, and like Kirsten Dunst, did she ever go away? Like, did Kirsten Dunst go away?
And if she did Melancholia bring it back?
Yeah, yeah. And anybody who says Michelle Yeoh needed a comeback is fucking crazy. Michelle Yeoh has always been amazing. The fact that she was in Crazy Rich Asians was not a comeback for her. Don't call it a comeback. She's been here for years.
Yeah,
So I think now the one I would agree with that is the one I was getting ready to talk about was the Winona Ryder, because Winona Ryder did kind of become an outcast from Hollywood for a while.
Well, how would you just? So when I think comeback, I think you make a movie. It hits. It brings everything back. It by seeing you fresh, everybody's seeing new. It reinvents you, and then your career is revived, right? So Winona Ryder did Stranger Things, and it got her back in the zeitgeist. And people were talking about her, but it didn't change like she's not now starring in movies and
she
and
kind
new
of has
TV
only
shows.
done Stranger Things for the last 4 years.
Yeah. So it definitely revived her being in the zeitgeist, but I don't know, because like Michael Keaton after Birdman was a leading man again, and John Travolta had probably the biggest act of his career after Pulp Fiction.
After Pulp Fiction, yep.
Yeah.
Now there's another thing though that is the sort of the gender specific part of this, which I think does tie into what you're talking about with women on this list and men on this list, is women disappear for a very gendered reason. So women work in Hollywood up through their 30s when they're hot, when they can play the hot girl, right? When they can play the sexy lead. Then they disappear until like their 60s when they can start playing the older woman, right? But there's very few great roles, or typically historically there have been very few great roles for women in their 40s and 50s. That's not when you see women on screen. They either play the grandma and the older lady, or the politician, that kind of thing, or they play the young hot girl. There's not nearly as many roles for the age in between, and I think that causes women to sort of disappear in Hollywood, and then it's not really a comeback. It's just they finally aged into the age where Hollywood would start hiring them.
Unless you're Meryl Streep and you're just so goddamn good that you're just going to keep working.
There's a few that never have that happen to them.
Well, I think that actresses are really getting hip and savvy to this, like Emma Stone. Like she is still in that young hot actress mode, but she's doing really interesting out there choices, and really exploring all these things. So really establishing a foundation of work that then doesn't have, it's not all wrapped up in her beauty.
Now I did see some listing Gloria Swanson in Sunset Boulevard as a comeback. Was that a comeback for her though? I'm not familiar.
Well, no, but I wish I would have thought of this while we were doing the thing, because that's a parallel movie. It
is a parallel movie. Yep.
To what we're talking about now, and it was a comeback with Gloria Swanson being in the zeitgeist. I don't know enough about her career after the fact to know that she was starring in movies afterwards, but it was the thing that got everybody talking about Gloria Swanson again.
And it was a parallel between the character she was playing and her real life.
In her real life.
Yeah. All right. Well, so do we have our top 5?
I think we do. Are we going to make any mention of Robert Downey Jr.?
Oh,
I would think coming back from like basically being in jail, all his problems.
Yeah. I mean, I think Iron Man definitely relaunched his career. There's no question.
It's the definition of a comeback. I mean, he literally to not go bankrupt. Mel Gibson put him in his movie Air America and insured him himself, because they wouldn't insure him, so he couldn't even do movies.
Yeah,
and I know Joseph tried to get the argument that the Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is his comeback. No, it's Iron Man. Iron Man was a massive blockbuster hit that made him an undeniable star.
Yep.
And then he was back on top, and he's been holding that down since then.
Yeah. Although I do love Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah. It's a great movie. Yeah, it's a great movie. But that wasn't his comeback. All right, thank you guys for hanging out. We are so sorry we wasted your time, but we care about you, and we're gonna try to do better. You know what? We're just gonna try to do better. And that's when you know that when you apologize for the podcast that you just did, that's how much confidence that we have in it. Say goodbye, Ty.
Goodbye, Ty.